so there's no particular objectives that I know about at least. Maggie's doing a speech called Be Like Manure. And with a speech called Be Like Manure, this is David B. There I was, 3 months into my new job here at Next Restaurant at the Alinea Group here in Chicago. Was deep into service. I'd been in fight and flight mode for 10 hours in already, and I had another 6 hours ahead of me. And the courses were flying by. My station partner wasn't getting yelled at for once. Thank God. And then I turn around, clean up my station, I get my tweezers ready, put the last nice garnish that I've been told repeatedly has to go canted to a slight 48-degree angle rather than the 47-degree angle. And I feel confident it was 48 degrees. So I clean my station, wham! My dish goes slamming and slaps against the wall. And I turn around and I'm greeted with, "What the fuck is this?" And needless to say, I got a speech about how it wasn't at 47 degrees, even though I was really confident it was at 48 degrees. This hadn't been the first time, and my chef didn't like repeating himself, so I got sent home. Because that's what you did at Next. When you were too loud, when you dropped something, when you made just a little bit too many mistakes, you got sent home for the day. They wanted to make you feel like they don't need you, that they're good enough to do it without you. And everyone felt this. This is basically initiation at Next. And a lot of restaurants, being in fine dining, this is a lot of times the culture. And now that I'm running a bakery, I'm finding myself in a situation where I have a young aspiring cook who's his first kitchen. He's a baker named Randy. And you just have, I'm finally starting to get to those moments where like the damn it Randy moments, where you can see a little bit of yourself in like, where it's almost kind of like he's a puppy who just like peed on the ground in front of you, where you're just like, you know? And I've had to really think back to my experiences in fine dining kitchens and how I wanted to lead someone. Because it made me think, a lot of my former chefs weren't mentors. This was a boss. This was someone who was enforcing the rules. His only prerogative was to make sure that I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing, nothing else. Has anyone in here had a boss, not a mentor, and found themselves in positions where you're like, oh man, it's my turn, and you end up putting yourself in situations where you become a person you don't like? So my antidote to this is to be like manure. Now what does that mean? Well, what is manure? It's fertilizer. And what does fertilizer do? Fertilizer adds the nutrients to the crops so they can thrive and grow and have a healthy life and succeed. So if you are now finding yourself in a position, especially looking back when you were a mentor for the first time in your career and you had subordinates, think about how you wanted to lead your subordinates, your mentees. Were you a boss where you were enforcing protocol and just making sure everything was done perfectly? Or were you like manure, where you planted seeds and gave advice about where your pitfalls, and you talked to them like a person and shared your experiences? And just like how manure and fertilizer, the three elements are NPK, the nitrogen, the phosphorus, that's all needed for the healthy plants to grow. Did you add your little bits here about like, maybe you should do it like this, or, oh, hold on, before you go do that, I made a big mess when I did it this way. You know, you share a lot of the bits and pieces that the ones that they don't teach you in the manual or the protocol, but the skills that really helped you to become, in your position, the mentor that you are today. You were like manure. Now, Maggie, has there ever been a time where you were a mentor or you were placed in a manager position for the first time and you had to really stop yourself from not being that person you didn't like?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Mark, is there a mentor that you can point to that you had in your life that was not a boss, but he was like manure?
Yes.
And he gave you all the skills and the nutrients for you to succeed in your position.
Many of them.
What was one of the best pieces of advice that you got?
Do your best.
Do your best. David, what about you? Did you have a boss or a mentor?
Not a great manure one.
Not a great manure one. Now it's funny that he says not a great manure one, because there's organic manure and there's synthetic manure. Now, what are the differences between this organic and synthetic manure? Synthetic manure is a manure that was put together by elements and compounds in that are basically derived from time-tested systems. So in other words, a manual. So we have who in here works for a big company that has standard protocol and systems in place that keeps the wheels turning? Okay. Pat, how do you stick to your protocol or your manual or the synthetic manure in this case versus your own organic manure that you have to give to the people that are under you?
Now I'm blown by the existing protocols left and right. That's why it was brought in. Change it, because that one is like shit.
Exactly. So, if you find yourself in a situation where you're finally leading or and in charge of people, you need to ask yourself: am I a boss, or am I like manure? And if I am like manure, am I synthetic? Am I just using the existing protocols? Or am I taking all the organic elements, the intangibles that no protocol or manual can put in? And am I spreading that so my crop can raise and make this a much better company or achieve the goal at hand? Thank you.